always shine on the old Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the Piper boys, we were born forever free. Let's go pay the Piper boys beneath the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys, always pay the tyrant's fee. Never give up the struggle, boys, fight for the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Stand for the rights of man, boys, stand against all tyranny. Hang the lance of freedom, boys, high on the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. It will grow as we grow, boys, it will be as strong as we. We must cling to our faith, boys, faith in the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12-gauge autoloader.
Sure.
The 45 long slide.
Yep.
With laser sighting.
You betcha.
The Uzi 9mm.
Yes, sir.
Phased plasma rifle in a 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay, they'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we hoped you to always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun. Permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear, be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
The story of Commander Sofia. I would have to read this later. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Evening Intelligence Report. I'm Mark Harkey. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines, and occupied territories, west, southeast, north, and south. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube live stream, and we are streaming now. I see that the thumbs up is there. And we are on AM and FM micro stations, AM and FM conventional stations, CB base stations, and Ultranet Hallmark and Golden Spike technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good evening to all of our friends out there in Lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, the outlying two states, territories, and the clock. It is 8:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Monday. It's the 24th of August. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K. Take the C off, put a K in there, and that's what you got going right now and has been going for quite some time. So, anyway, it's Monday. It has been a very busy weekend, as I pointed out, going through some of the tools. Actually, I already distributed some of those tools this weekend, even as I was collecting everything and accumulating others. So, one of the things that I did get out of the deal, a whole bunch of drill press vices, which, by the way, will go to all the drill presses that we have that didn't have one. Eventually, you're going to buy one for each one of them, but when you don't have to buy them and you get them for basically for free, then, well, yeah, now that saves you a big chunk of change, $60, $70, $50, depending on what you purchase. The big thing here, again, is pay attention to the estate sales that are out there. I cannot emphasize that enough. And one of the places to look is over at Facebook Marketplace, and also Craigslist is number 2. Actually, your choice, pecking order, whichever one you want to go to first. That's your personal choice, not mine. Anyway, if you go over to the freebie section, in many cases you will find, especially today, and I highly recommend doing it today, you will find all the things left over that people had from the sale over the weekend in many cases, and there is a lot. There are many different patterns of material out there, some of the, depending on what the person did, but right now, the biggest line share that I've run into, I would say 2 out of 3 have been virtual tables full or bins full of, or buckets or boxes full of shop material. And again, you never know what you're going to run into. Take it all. And I will warn you about this. Don't be persnickety. Take everything, because if you don't know what all you're looking at, don't leave anything behind. As I had to puzzle together 2 or 3 machines this weekend, I still have a bunch of others I haven't even done yet. One of the things, for instance, drill doctor, okay, and I finally looked at an image today by accident. I wasn't really looking for it. This is that fickle finger of fate, Twilight Zone Matrix thing. And I realized I was looking at a drill doctor that was part of somebody else's cache of stuff that they wanting to, have people pick up. And there was an excellent image of the machine with the little parts and widgets that I had, but didn't realize, even though I had it in my hand over the weekend, they didn't seem like, I didn't relate them to the machine. But now that I realize what I've been looking at in the one image, I now know what I have that makes the machine complete. So you want to definitely go through and just take every bucket, box, take everything off the shelves, whatever it is looks mechanical and sometimes even doesn't. You don't know what you're going to run into. You don't know what you're going to find. Reloading equipment, weapons parts, you name it, anything and everything that you can imagine can be sitting there waiting for your perusal and acquisition, and you want to do that. I think the most interesting thing here again is with the period of time. One of the things that everybody's noticed where I have past tools on is that the stuff that's plastic now, especially in a lot of the tools, materials that have been replaced over the years, a lot of it is now, of course, China sport plastic, where normally the part would have been, if it was American-made, the tool was originally done in some form of stock steel or stock aluminum. And so especially in scales and sliding rules, things of that nature for templates and all kinds of measuring technology. Like one person was a tool and die man. You can imagine what kind of equipment we had in that pile. And all of it is now in, where it needs to be. Emphasis needs to be. Another thing, guys, I can't stress this enough. We're looking for anvils. If anybody runs into one, you don't want to run them under your foot, but we are looking for anvils. We are in need of anvils. If anybody's got something they've run into, or they've got something laying around that might be useful, please, if you could, give us a scream and drop us a message over at liberty@provide.net. 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 We are interested in any technology like that, and we've got people that may be close, may not be myself, could be one of our other allies, but we can stop in and grab the stuff in the truck to make sure it's out of the weather and out, in protection as quickly as possible. Now, here's another thing about all these sales. Watch the grab boxes. I have gotten probably 10, 12 quarts of 2-cycle and 4-cycle fuel additive, oil by the quart. You go price this stuff. Any petroleum oil lubricant products of any kind, grab them. Even if it's only a small amount. You got to understand some of those little cans and some of those little containers were $30, $40, $50 a can. So even if there's only a quarter of a can left, who cares? That's like $10, $15 worth of material you got sitting in that little can. Oils, especially of any kind, collect them all. Remember, all of the oils can be used. Any petroleum oil lubricant product can at least be used if it's lubrication for motion. It can be used with weapons or other equipment for preservation. et cetera, et cetera. Now, the viscosity determines, again, how stick-to-it it is. Think of it that way. How well it's bonded to the metal determines how long it's going to take, or whether or not it's going to slough back off eventually. Gravity sucks. Oil is always following gravity's rule. Greases, cosmoline, things of that nature, you want to grab all those that you can run into. And again, who cares if part of the tube is used? On a lot of these things I'm finding in grease guns. I got several brand new grease guns that were, for whatever reason, somebody looked cross-eyed at. Maybe they got a machine now. I don't know. The grease gun machine. If they do, then they're using that, obviously. Because of that, because of that, any component, any element you got for storage, we've talked about storage of weapons, but also equipment and machinery. If you're not using it, give it a coat of lubricant of some kind to seal it up and put it away to make sure that it's secure for the future. It's not hard to do. It's not a complicated process, but and it's a simple thing, an incredibly simple thing. But most people don't think about this. If you have drills or any other machinery, blades, they need to be greased or at the very least oiled. If you're going to be leaving stuff in cache form, then you're going to have to take a look at how to properly time store it. That is a big issue. Not hard to do, but you need to look at it. Some of the other things people have done. There's all kinds of videos out there on YouTube, etc. Whatever bit, Brighteon, any number of different locations, and wherever you go, there is a lot of information out there, so you don't have to guess. Most important, you don't have to guess. Okay. I just want to emphasize that because, guys, we need a manufacturing base. We're not just complaining about and pissing and moaning about the problem and not doing anything. We have to have solutions. One of the other discussions over the weekend, and it's becoming very apparent, you'll notice how the idea about get rid of your cash, they kind of shut up when we started talking about the law. Didn't anybody notice that? Everybody started talking about the law. Now, I think part of this, and this is switching over something everybody loves, money in one form or another, digits, simoleons, clams, take your pick, whatever, dollars. You'll notice how they made that whole thing kind of disappear when people started pointing out, as I argued the same thing with everybody from the get-go. So you're not going to accept cash. Let's see. Government threatened to murder us over not using their cash. Government has murdered Americans for not using the shyster bankers' currency. Now, the cashless society is part of the shyster banker scam also, and it's something that we do not want to be part of. We do not. They try that, we're done. If you don't have the ability to deal amongst yourselves when you want to without the interference of a third party, then obviously, or without the curiosity, illegitimate curiosity of a third party, then you got a problem. And it's one that needs to be gotten rid of. Well, they start to hear the rumblings from a lot of different directions, and you'll notice they've shut up. Doesn't mean they've gone anywhere. You got to remember, these are globalists. Globalists will shut up and claim that nothing was ever even said. Okay? So here's one of the things that we need to look at is, again, as we've said, cash reserve and currency solutions. Number one, weights and measures must be consistent. So there's one of the first things that the founders were worried about, and specifically we're addressing step by step with regard to building a sound treasury. Now, because of this, something else was tied in, like I've said, is debauching of the currency was a high crime right from the get-go. Now, debauching can be a number of different things. Altering the standard coin of the nation, or fabricating false currency that is not of the value of real money, R-E-A-L, real money. Those were high crimes punishable up to and including death, and understandably so, and it was actually quite valid, okay, very valid, because this is part of that breaking of the trust process and undermining the trust of what is a system is something that a lot of people, again, used to take offense to in government, but apparently in the process of what they're trying to do now, they need to, they're just going to screw us all, and in the process, undermine the very system they murdered Americans over. Well, that's not going over too well, and in our case, we need to make sure, again, that when we get done with the fighting that we're going to have to do, the solution that we have is going to incorporate sound currency. And by the way, government isn't the only one who can make currency, contrary to the scam of the more recent, period of time that we're now in. In the past, currency, understanding money, everybody did. Everybody understood valuation, everybody understood trade and exchange, and it is something that we are going to have to study once again. And yes, it does require work. Oh my God, it's not complicated, it just requires effort. Mostly it's a key word here with money has to do with what? Math and bookkeeping. Math more important than anything else, and then bookkeeping obviously to keep track of what it is. Once you've generated it, you calculate what your exchanges are. Then again, you need a ledger system for efficient transfer of monies, etc. And it has to have good confidence. It has to be sound. It has to be honorable. So what are you going to do about that? Because, again, currency does not have to be backed by necessarily gold and silver. Remember, all wealth comes from the soil. Let's remember the first rule. All wealth comes from the soil. That could be wheat, that could be corn, that's transient wealth, and then there is tangible wealth. And there are many other objects in between that are perceived as, or raw materials that are obviously of different standings, that are wealth. So this is all part of the foundation of understanding of building a society. We are so far away from this now that most everybody isn't even going to have this conversation. Well, you better start planting the seed now, because a lot of people are going, well, I don't want to fight a war. Well, you're going to fight a war. Then once you do fight a war, you're going to win this war. When you win this war, what are you going to come up with? You're going to embrace the same garbage that brought us to the toilet flush we're in right now? We can't have that. We cannot afford that. We have to have solutions now. And one of these, again, the bridging point is coinage. And this is where you got to keep an eye out. Interesting, some of the stuff I've been running into where everybody's raiding grandma's cookie jar or, finding stuff laying around for whatever reason. I don't know how they'd be finding it laying around unless they went and, raped grandma's, cookie jar or somebody's goodie jar. I've been running into 1941 pennies, 1941, 1951 nickels, dime, you name it. And this has been especially true for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Everything that we've been running into, definitely we're saving, but it's, again, remember, earlier pennies are a solid copper. Needless to say, nickel might give you a hint, a nickel, as opposed to, isn't it a 5-cent piece? No, we have a slang term for it. We call it a nickel. Why do we call it a nickel? I think you could probably figure that out pretty quick if we understand English and how it works, right? But it's pretty straightforward. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, sir. Since there's a change shortage, where's the change? Was it taken out of the country? Was it melted down? No one's got an answer for it, do they?
Well, that's another one, is, again, I haven't seen any order unless Trump did something under the table. There was no order that I've seen for the de-striking or the retirement of any of the fresh coin that was minted. And, one of the things for the longest time, two pieces of currency in circulation, well, not in circulation, though they wanted it. Number one, dollar coins. Okay, where'd all the dollar coins go? They tried everybody to get Susan B. Anthony's. In fact, they got pissed when we started using Susan B. Anthony's, but since then, we've had other dollar coins in service, and they still didn't get all the Susan B's into circulation. So I don't know if they did de-strike some of those, smelt some of those back, but I do know that, we still have the Sacagaweas, they're out there. They always strike 50-cent pieces. Now, how many, I don't know. And again, the scale was based upon valuation. So remember, we don't have a true silver dollar coin in circulation, which is why they dropped the size down to a little bigger than a quarter, but not much. Well, those coins are still supposed to be on the shelf. And then, needless to say, like you said, what do? Take all the zinc pennies and drag them back in and squish them. I think it's a lie across the board. Okay, that's the first problem. The second is, remember, when the Depression hit, the Federal Reserve, the same enemy we have now, the Federal Reserve withdrew all the currency and wouldn't put it into circulation because technically they gave it to the international shyster bankers.
Hey, Mark, I have the answer to that gentleman's question. Now, you ready?
Okay, go ahead, caller. Jump in there.
All right. do you know who Catherine Austin Fitz is?
Recognize the name, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, okay, she was just on Greg Hunter's YouTube program. She's done, I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but she did a whole bunch of research with another gentleman on all the trillions of missing money and how they've changed documentation. Well, she just got through checking out, because of this, she's looking at the Treasury Department. They have not, she went back historically, how many nickels, dimes, pennies, quarters each month are released to banks and who signs for what. She's looking for some unrelated information, and she found that they're just not releasing it. It is just being stacked up. It wasn't sent out to Israel and I don't care about that. I mean, I despise them as much as you do, but it wasn't sent anywhere. It wasn't given to somebody else. They just quit releasing it. So the Treasury
hold on here. Here's the thing about that. Okay, she may believe, okay, that's true. They didn't physically move it. This is like what they do with the reserve gold. They run it in a trolley. Okay, it used to be they still play the shill game. You know, they have trolleys where they move money from one national treasury to another in New York in the basements. Yeah. And technically what they've done, I think, is that they have, just like the $7 trillion that left the country and nobody knows where the hell it went right over to Haifa and Tel Aviv and to Brussels. Oh, yeah. That's where it went.
That did, yeah.
And that's money that greases the mechanism of America. So we just had $7 trillion worth of our operating currency in digits leave. Well, the other half is, like you said, they're not getting it. Okay, the Treasury made it. Okay, let's go this way. The Mint. Let's go back, because really there's where the core is. The Mint cranks out, and through the printers and the strikes, they produce so many coins every year, mandatory. Yeah. They already have it contracted last October. They already knew what they were going to do this year. So they've already done it, and they've already made it, and it is on the shelf. Now, what you said is that, and what she said is actually true. They've not gotten it, and there's only 3 steps to this. This is where I'm going to repeat this again. From the producer end, it only goes from the Mint to the holding Federal Reserve stations, and we have one right here in Detroit. Okay?
Well, no, I understand all that, but all these conspiracy theories are popping out about they did this and they did that and they're trying to do this. No, they're simply trying to keep cash out of the people's hands, so they just didn't give it to your local drive-in bank. That's all. It's just
right.
It's just,
but the thing is that what they did in 29 is the same thing that they did in 1928, 1929.
No,
they didn't release the currency to lock down the population, which is what they're doing right now. But they technically did.
Just trying to answer his question about okay. That's
very good. Thank you. What they technically did though is that what they had in the process, bookkeeping wise, okay. It's part of the 7 tiers of banking. Okay, I've mentioned this many times. We only see 2 of the currencies of the 7 that exist on paper, as in physical paper, as in real currency. And the other 5 you and I will never see. They are transferred by banks even as we speak. There's armored cars going down the road with them. And what this currency is, the banking exchange currency that moves base digits. That's what they've done, is they've taken the public currency and they slid it off the books over to another account to again claim that somebody else owns it, somebody else is possessing it. Physically, it is right where it's been. There are only 3 places it could be in the process. It's either going to be at the Mint, at the Federal Reserve, or in the field bank's hands, which means it's in circulation with Myers and with Lowe's and with any company, no matter who you could think of, because the operating mechanisms, the companies out there that are banking, request the currency for circulation that they need to have change or whatever based on their digit accounts, and all they do is go to whatever institution within the banking mechanism of America. They request the currency. It goes to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve office sends the currency out, basically based on what are consistent requests by the field agent, the bank that the company banks with, and they keep pushing it out the door. And in exchange, they obviously recirculate or reprocess digits, because remember, only 10% at the most of the money that is moved as taxes, only 10% or less is actual currency. The rest, 90%, already is digital. This is what pisses me off. How greedy can you bastards be? Well, I know what it is. You're Fruit Loop nutcase control freaks. because you've already got 90% in digit form that you can steal anytime you want. But the 10% that's out there is what they're terrified of, because if they did make the move like they are now, well, people would shoot their hairy hind end so fast to make their heads swim because they got nothing to lose and everything to gain. And so that's why they want their logic is that they can move the next step or hopefully get everybody through their stupefaction. I mean, after all, if you can get them to wear a dog muzzle, you can get them to do anything, they probably figure.
Hey, Mark?
But in their stupefaction, they would then move the rest of the way, and then they can just tell you what to do as they need to. We got another voice. Go ahead, caller, jump in there.
Hey, Mark, it's Natalie in Illinois. Hey, how come we've never tried labor treasury notes like the NSDAP did in World War II or before then?
Well, actually, here's the thing. There's two directions currency could come from. In the past, what happened, remember, before, okay, look, we had the Depression hit. They pulled the money reserves, or the money supply. They literally pulled everything. Pennies, dimes, nickels, quarters, half dollars, paper currency, everything was pulled, which is what they're trying to do, or they thought they were going to baffle everybody with here most recently. Now, these other solution currencies have been around at different times and really go back even to the founding of the country. While we had continentals, everybody forgets they try to downplay that every one of the colony states, colony first state when we broke away, had their own reserve currencies. Some had 3, 4, and 5, depending on how many big metropolitan areas they had, like Charleston, or say Savannah, or even New York itself. And New York was notorious for nobody trusting. They had their currencies. Okay, well, there's a reason they didn't trust New York even back then, right?
Right.
Their little Dutch connection meant they had another connection. That's the other part.
Yeah, the other rats that you catch when you caught the Dutch. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that the other currencies, the newer currency solutions, would actually make sense. The problem, I should say, the newer ones from the last 100 years, any one of them could be implemented, but it wouldn't give the bankers what they want, which is they believe that they're going to be unelected gods over our families, our people.
But it'd be good for us. That's why we've never heard about it. That's why they wanted to get rid of Germany. They wanted to get rid of the labor treasury notes. I mean, several reasons, but that was one of the big ones.
Right. Well, again, remember that, we talk about currency. There's so many different layers as far as all of the different currencies that even in our lifetime we either run into or we can still find as change on occasion. The United States notes pop up every once in a while. The Treasury security notes, bonds. Here's another one, savings bonds. If you look at the older savings bonds, they were done more in the size of, and in fact they rolled over. It's kind of interesting the way they did this. They rolled over from the old currency format, but originally those were spendable just like any other currency and were accepted just like stamps or Federal Reserve notes or United States notes or United States bonds. You could spend a bond the same way you could spend a dollar, but nobody does it anymore. I mean, a reason I thought about that is only because the other day here I actually have some of the United States savings bond stamp books where you could do quarters, and back when a quarter meant something, and you could progressively buy a whole bond, pennies at a time, or 50 cents, 25 cents per increment, and when you filled it up, you took that in and you got a service bond, and that bond held for 3 years, 3.5 years maturity, whatever it was. And then you got your interest, and it was never a great amount of interest, but it was an example of a short-term piece of currency that matured over a period of time. Right. Because if you and I wanted to trade, I could go, well, don't have any cash right now, but I do have some bonds. I have some treasury, savings bonds. Oh, okay. Well, what's the maturity on them? Well, they're triple-E's and they're good for like a year out. Okay, well, I'm going to make a profit. You make a profit on that if they can sign them over. So you actually make a double profit. Let's say you were selling something. Okay, I'll take them for face value. And that was a trading feature. Well, yeah, you had to bite the bullet, but you only had that much money into them. That's where we actually, this is something that we talk about. Well, how would we run this country if we got hold of it, okay? Guys, Americans used to invest in America. Not just big, rich Americans used to invest in America. Everybody was considered wealthy by the world standards in America, and everybody invested in the country. And so we actually, if you go back before the Federal Reserve scam was plugged in, Americans banked on America. And so we had a vested interest. All of this has to do with us becoming more and more isolated and separated from the process so that we would be the peasants at the door rather than the banker at the table. Because as I've said many times on the air here, all of us are bankers. We just don't know it. Caller, you know about the straw man, right?
Right.
Okay, well, in reality, you're a banker, and every one of us was a banker and never knew it, did we?
Exactly.
One way or another, Mom and Dad created the birth certificate. But most of us, like myself, I'm 64, I went and got a driver's license because I felt it was so important, and I had to go get a Social Security number because we didn't have a slave number assigned to us from birth the way the slavers do to us now. But I had to go sign into the system and sign my life away to actually demonstrate and activate the bond. Now, I didn't know the bond was generated from my birth, but I created the activation sequence to make it even more valuable. And as an unknown banker, when I signed all those papers, if I actually had been given a better education, I'd know what I was getting into. But since I didn't, all of us are in the same boat. None of us, there's nothing in school that's offered on the subject we're talking about. No one talks about it. The communists like it. Go ahead.
To get off the subject slightly, I did buy one of those SKSs that you pointed out in Palmetto State. I got probably one of the last ones because I noticed that they're sold out now. And I just ordered the 1,000 rounds you said to pick up for it.
Excellent.
Oh, and
very good.
There's a site, ammoseek.com, that's like a search engine for ammo. So if you put in what you want, I'll show you whatever sites have what and at what price.
Best price. Good. Okay. Well, that's good. Again, the SKSs are gone, and somebody just told me, well, somebody just offered me one for $450 today. That was over the weekend. And it's like, should I buy it? I said, well, go look to see if you can find one for less. But, if it comes with ammo and other stuff, yeah, might be interested in it now. At least you can still get 7.62x39 in good quantity. And for less money. Okay, I have to emphasize that. You bought your ammunition as opposed to 5.56 ammo right now or 7.62 NATO or anything else is standard. You're even 9mm. Hell, your 7.62x39
the 9mm
is cheaper
was
than...
expensive.
Right.
That was expensive. That was almost $500 for that.
Right.
That was because I bought a 9mm pistol also when I bought the SKS.
And the pistol ammo is more expensive than the rifle ammo was.
Oh, way. $200 more, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I don't even like it. Hey, yeah, man, I don't even like handguns. So I was like, I don't even like spending this money, but I know I kind of need to have one around. So what kind of ammo should I get for my 12 gauge? Because I always think you should get double-aught buck, but maybe not.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Everything.
I like number 4 buck, and you probably can get it for about the same or less money right now. In fact, there's another one. There's triple-aught coming out that's been, I don't know, I think they did that because of the stuff they were loading up in 410 for pellets. And if you go to any of the companies right now, I don't care which one, you can find shot shells still, so you got to shop around. But I would get, if you can get number 6 or BB, that's a good utility for knocking down things you want to eat or for knocking people down. But, and only because, again, number 6 is a shot. It's a finer shot. BB is BB, like the 177 BB pellets. And they literally are BB pellets. The other is number 4, number 3.
Shotgun is going to knock animals down unless it's big because it's a short shotgun with 2 pistol grips. So it'll be knocking people down most likely, but I don't want to have to put all the shots.
There again, any of those are still good because if you knock somebody down with that much pellet, and again, you're going to hit somebody. The big thing with the number 4 is 22 caliber. Number 3, I think is like 27, and the double-aught buck is 30 caliber. So any one of those 3 is a good load. If one's more expensive than the other, in other words, double-aught buck seems to be staying high. It has been, whereas number 4 has actually, it's been spotty out there, but it's actually a little less expensive. Every time you touch off a 12 gauge with number 4 buck, it's like dumping a magazine of AR-15 ammo downrange all at once, because you're looking at 30 to 32, 33, 34 pellets, depending on who loaded it, which company. And so you've got a pretty hefty lump of lead, standard weight, but you've got more places to hit somebody, and that multiple contact traumatic impact, that kinetic energy shock, it literally stuns the system. So one thing to think about is the more places you put pellets, the more places the body goes, oh, that didn't, oh, and it shuts lights off. That's why I like number 4. I've said that for years. Number 4 is just one of those things where, not everybody, you want to reach a little farther. Yes, double aught will reach a hair farther, not much, but you are going to get a strike with a 30 caliber pellet when you do that. But if you're to shotgun and you've got a short barrel like you're talking about, a street sweeper basically.
Yeah, it's a Mossberg. It's got 2 pistol grips on it.
Yeah, it's good for the hallway.
I think all I need is a sling for it. I've already got a bandolier, maybe a second bandolier, and I'll be good to go.
Well, don't forget, there's a lot of nice little shot shell bags that are actually set up with ringlets on the inside, and they're cheap. They're not that expensive. And as a matter of fact, for carrying, you can make up a nice little battle pack for the 12 gauge that's simple for you to put on, and everything's ready to go. The first rule is more ammo, more ammo, more ammo. That's what everybody has, been asking me all weekend. Where do I get? And it's like I said. Well, if you do find it, buy all you can, because I can't see us getting out of this. Look what just happened with Wisconsin out of the blue, and it's not really out of the blue. They were just waiting.
Yeah, there's more and more of this same BS. Yes.
Yeah, and again, the important thing is make sure you got friendlies, people that you can count on around you. Try to, even if it's only one other person for now. But you need to know the person. You need to know what their background is. You need to work on it. You have to develop that person. But that's not hard to do. But you build one person at a time.
Yeah, we've got about 3 around us, and we're about to get marine radios. I got everybody talked into buying used marine radios.
As a matter of fact, that's what I got this weekend out of the piles of stuff, where a couple of them, I didn't even know it until I looked at one and realized what the manufacturer was. But, by the way, and I mentioned that Facebook Marketplace. If you go over there, you may find some pretty good deals in your area on marine radios that have been pulled from boats, because there's quite a few listed. So that is another solution.
Yeah, there's usually several every time I look, so yeah.
Now, you were asking about, and I'm looking real quick. Classic is just a quick spot check. Shot shells are more common than anything else. So it's purely a flavor choice. They've got number 4 shot. Well, it's kind of pricey. That's steel.
Have you seen any of those fire starter? I saw on a UN Ammo site they've got fire. I think they're called dragon breathers or something.
Dragon breath. They
start firing.
Yeah, dragon.
Oh, they're expensive. But damned, I'm going to get some because I'm going to go out in the woods and play with them.
Well, no, you don't want to burn any right now, but you might want to test one. Everybody come together and test one.
Come on, I got a bunch of dead wood. I'm going to shoot this shit.
But then you're going to be burning down the forest. Okay, keep that in mind. So if you got a bonfire you want to get going, experiment on that. Remember, the way to use those is to actually have fuel or something deployed forward. And basically, it's like, first it's what it says. It's dragon's breath.
Well, how hard is the impact? Would you be able to hit a gas tank in a car? Or?
No, well, it's not likely. Until you put holes in something, you have to have a fuel air mix. But what's cool is if you have something in front of you, even in a hallway, it's kind of embarrassing when that kind of torches somebody, because remember, that's magnesium. It's a combination of magnesium flash powder and also I think there's one other low element that they use. I don't know if they're using an iron oxide in that or not. They probably are. But what that does, it's basically a chemical flame system. It's not a fluid flame system. So what's really neat about that is the closer the person is, the more likely it's going to sit on them and burn. It's not going to... Yeah, so it's kind of like it burns. Good, let him burn, leave him. Yeah, everybody else can hear him screaming. That's good. They are screaming. But in a confined space, we got to be aware with flame because you lose oxygen real quick. But in that case, what's going to happen is it's going to, like down a hallway or down a stairwell is really fantastic. It's going to light up the whole area. If you hit somebody dead center, it's going to lock onto them. Even if they're wearing Kevlar, which is basically,
down one of those subway stairways.
Yeah, or any kind of entrance. A lot of people have stairways coming up from, an entranceway. Depending on where you are in the country, it was a very common pattern. If you have a good control point like that, couple people with an extended magazine or with, a couple of decent shotguns, and yeah, you could throw a couple of Dragon Breath down there. The effect that has is monstrous. Now, you got to watch it because, remember, you don't want to set the house on fire, but typically if you control your area and you're prepping things, then you use that
for... getting carried away.
Yeah, you use that to kind of blunt whatever's coming through the door. Or, blunt whatever's coming up the stairway or coming up, through the access or entranceway. That's the purpose behind it. And, of course, it does light up the night. Now, I will say that. But remember, when you light things up, people know where you are.
Yeah, yeah.
So you want to make sure that when you use it, you move it. When you use it, you move. Remember that.
I haven't heard you talk about flash suppressors. Like for that SKS, can I get a flash suppressor for it?
Well, you can, but and I'm not sure who has what in stock right now because the SKS stuff is being eaten up because everybody bought all those SKSs you were talking about. And I have been looking around. There are TAPCO used to make a series of clip-on flash hiders for what they do is they go over the end of the barrel. They have a locking system where they go right around the front sight post. Now, TAPCO made a dozen of them at one time, and really what they did is they inherited that from a company that they absorbed years ago from Tennessee. I do not know if they still have them, but TAPCO, I would assume, probably has some old stock. Some of them are clunky and lunky. Some of them basically are a cone flash hider or a star shell. The star shell is good for head-on work because what it does is it instead of a big ball of flame, which also will blind you, not a big ball, but enough, what the flash hider does is breaks down and turns each one of it takes each one of the slots and makes a little Venturi burst. And this is less destructive to your night vision, and it does not obstruct your vision, but it also makes it harder to see you from the front because you don't have a large circle that appears, but instead a flash in almost a star pattern. In fact, very difficult to see if it's head-on, if you're farther out and away. So TAPCO would be one of the companies to look to see what they have. They also make them for our listeners. They make the same model for the Nagant, for the bolt-action rifles, but I don't know if it's still in stock. I don't know what's happened with the company. I was talking with somebody, and TAPCO has kind of rolled up the sidewalk for some reason. Could be just part of the Soros group because they're the ones who got it. But there are flash hiders out there. Don't go too expensive. Don't go crazy on that. Right now, the rifle as is will work just fine. You don't need to do anything of the SKS you have. If you bought one of those for $350, like I said on the air before, that rifle is just the way it is a perfectly serviceable weapon. Now, if you want to get a flash hider, that would be one of the few things that you could invest in first. It won't screw on. It's going to clamp on, and that would be an option. But it has to be for the SKS. That's you got to make sure it's for that rifle. Don't try to pick up something else that's not going to do you any good. The other thing there is it's up to you, but personally, since you can see how simple the weapon is, I would stick with the 10-round magazine simply because looking around, everybody bought up the detachable.
I bought an extra 10-round one that is, just fits in the gun in case something happens to the one that's there. Just to have an extra.
Good.
I still need to clean it, pull it all apart when I get a chance, probably next weekend. I'll have to sit there with YouTube and pull it all apart and clean it because it's really nasty, greasy, sticky, icky. And I'll only touch it with gloves on right now. So. Well,
there are some excellent videos, and again, like I said, Ray, there's no sense in reinventing.
I've seen a bunch of them, and I'm gonna.
Yeah, there's no sense in reinventing the wheel because there's a bunch of people that have taken the weapon right out of the box, and if you just watch them carefully and pay attention to what they're saying, guys. If you watch one and you're not satisfied, go find another one and see, whether or not that does what it needs to do to help you to get along. But most of them have been pretty detailed that I've seen and are good enough that they're not going to mess the weapon up. The big thing here again is you're gonna find that the grease is everywhere if they were smart, and they probably were.
Oh, it's everywhere. Yeah, it's packed everywhere.
And that's why the thing isn't a rust bucket, because a lot of the stuff that came out of China when they first opened up bringing guns into the U.S., a lot of the stuff that the Chinese stored was stored literally by what the guys told me that went over there to buy them. They dug holes in the side of hills, lined them with boards, and stacked the guns up inside. Well, they came back later and realized they didn't look so good. So they were going to destroy a lot of those weapons, And then they found out America wanted them. And then from that point forward, they stopped destroying them and they started selling them, which is kind of interesting. So we ended up like with all those original SKSs, the first models that came in were factory brand new, but then there was the wave of surplus. And the same is true with Mausers and other things. Well, a lot of those Mausers were pretty rough when they came in, only in that the finish was tired and they had not been greased at all. Most of them had not been lubricated, so we had to clean them up, free them up, and make them work. These weapons probably came from Vietnam or came from one of the African states that got them as a gift from Vietnam, and they got them from China. Vietnam got them from China. So these weapons are, as far as I can see, the ones I've seen that the guys bought here, they're average. They work well. There's nothing busted on them. They're just service rifles.
Yeah, seems fine. Yeah, everything seems to be intact in there, and you know the bolt works, and the barrel looks nice from what I can tell. Yeah, everything's there, and it looks good. I mean, it's a little nicked up. Once I get it cleaned up, it'll look a lot nicer. I was kind of disappointed it didn't have any battlefield art, but I guess we'll be able to make our own here coming up. So.
Yeah, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they got 3 or 4 owners worth of initials on them, okay, which tells you Chow Chu Bing dropped it, and then Bao Chu Bing dropped it, and then Chi Chow Bai dropped it, and then...
Yeah, went to take a dump, it got shot, and somebody else grabbed it.
Right, exactly. Oh, darn. Well, at least it kept going into battle. But otherwise, the rifles themselves are built like a brick doghouse. They were made for potato farmers and rice farmers. Yeah. I have no problem carrying an SKS. In fact, like I said, we have many of them, and if you were handing it to me, I'd make it work. Make it work well. They are a good rifle. The thing is that the price kind of caught up with, again, years ago, when we were getting them for $56 a piece, it's like, guys, if you had to build this gun, you couldn't make it for anywhere near the price you just paid for it. Well, even at $350, if you look at the price of any of the modern weapons being made here, the SKS would be a lot more expensive than presently you're paying for it. In fact,
I like the wood on it. I miss the wood on the new guns. I don't like it without the wood.
Well, one of the other things too is I don't know how what your size is as far as your arm length or whatever, but the SKS probably is perfect for you. I mean,
I'm 5'3", so it's a rifle. I mean,
it's
my shotgun is
just
probably easier for me to carry around, but.
See, for me, what's interesting is I'm 6 foot tall and I'm about 227 pounds. Okay.
I'm 5'3" and 132, so I'm not that big.
Yeah, when I picked up the SKS first time, for me, there's a couple
comfy.
rifles.
I can carry it around all day. It wouldn't bother me.
Exactly. It's a comfortable weapon to carry. So for anybody else who is still thinking about them, or maybe you got a friend who's going to sell them to you, if you can get somebody to come off one and it's in good shape, if you can get it for a reasonable price, ammunition, I'm looking at 3 or 4 different companies right here, right now, just while we were talking, because I got a little list, and everybody still has some 7.62 by 39 on the shelf. They don't have much 5.56, if any, but guess what? You can get 30 carbine, you can get 7.62 by 39, and amazingly enough, right now you can get 7mm more likely than you can 5.56. Which is really fascinating.
I just bought 1,000 of the 7.62 by 39, and it was $359 plus tax and delivery. But
yeah, and again,
wasn't bad. I didn't think. Yeah.
See, I know it's pretty bad when I look at these companies and they're listing blank cartridges amongst their live stuff. Their ball ammo and regular shells to try and fill out their ammunition because they don't have much ammunition. They only do that when they're short ammo, like we have been a couple times in the last 12, 15 years. And right now it's the same thing. It tells me there's not a whole lot on the horizon either. And part of that is that a lot of the surplus has been blocked from import. We know that now. So, but what's interesting is all the Wolf, Tula ammo. If you can't get one,
yeah, I got Tula on both the 7.62 by 39 and that 9mm.
Oh, excellent. Okay. If you can't get that, Wolf is fine. But again, remember, there might be a little different point of impact with from 1.762 round to to the next a little. You'll experiment when the time comes when you shoot it. But for the most part, point of impact should be pretty consistent or consistent enough. The one thing is it's a nice little defense rifle. The next thing, if you're going to keep the 10-round mag, is grab some stripper clips. There's a couple companies out there that still have them. I've been going through.
J&G, I think I've got it bookmarked. I was going to get 100 of them.
Good. Okay. Excellent. And by the way, did you get anything to carry the ammo?
No, I don't really like the idea of the belt thing.
Okay, hold on a second. Go over to classic, or no, go over to www.centerfiresystems.com, and these are cheap, and they actually can afford to have 2 of them loaded up when you see what I'm talking about. If you go over to Center Fire Systems and you go SKS Chest Rig, SKS Chest Rig over at centerfiresystems.com. Let's see if they still have them. They may be gone, but they only had the woodland camo. Oh, darn. Hold on here. SKS. Oh, we'll just put. Okay, let's just put rifle here and see what happens. SKS rifle. It may even have the pouches. They have a woodland camo chest rig. It's $6.50 if they still have them in stock. And they're over in the, let's see, surplus gear probably. Hold on here. Surplus bags and pouches. Let's try there. Anyway, if you search through, you'll find them. They are $6.99, and they still have them in stock. Camo, stripper clip, chest pouch, $7 a piece. They went up 50 cents from what they were the last time we looked. And that's at centerfiresystems.com. And when you go over to Centerfire, and for everybody listening, this is the best buy for a rig like this in the country. I've got dozens of them, dozens and dozens of them in woodland and in OD green, because we bought them when they first came in OD. You go to centerfiresystems.com. There's a brown line at the top of the page. Go to the far right where it says military surplus and touch that. The first line, surplus bags, cases, and pouches. When you tap that, there are 2 pages. Well, the first page, if you scroll down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, about halfway down the page. Camo, stripper clip, chest pouch. This is a great way to have a couple of combat loads ready to go. And if you're going to get 100 stripper clips, you should be able to fill up 2 of these pouches. And it's a multi-pocket chest pouch system, $7, and they're well made. I've got one literally right above me. Okay, right now. And what's neat about this, it was built for the ammo you bought. When you get the stripper clips, it'll be perfect for your mission. And you don't have to fill all those pockets up with ammo. You can save the 2 outside left and right for other equipment or something else that you want to carry. But they are a nice little rig. They're easy to put on, take on and off, and the price is right. Well, I think when they're gone, they'll be gone though. Once they sell those out, that'll be it. In fact, if you watch Equipping for the New World Order Part 1 that I did, to go over to YouTube, punch in Mark Kornke, and then Equipping for the New World Order Part 1, you'll see I'm wearing one of those chest rigs. Actually, I'm wearing one of the Vietnamese, but there's really no difference in the design except snaps. And so it's a good pattern and it's a good solution for you. And for anybody else listening, okay, so it's 10 pockets. I'm sorry, I said number of pockets, 10 pockets for sure. Sound good?
I'm on the page. I don't know. Maybe I...
That's okay. You can take your time. Okay, when you get over to the page, centerfiresystems.com, there's a brown line. The lines has magazines, firearms, ammo, accessories, gear and supplies, optics, and the last one says military surplus, which is to the far right in that brown line. When you get there and you touch military surplus with your cursor, the first thing that pops up there is surplus bags, cases, and pouches. Or you can search, and the item is camo, stripper, clip, chest, pouch. Camo, stripper, clip, chest, pouch. What I use these for also, and a lot of guys do, are for the 20-round AR-15 magazines, because you can fit a whole brace of them in those pockets, a whole pile of them. And they're neat with the metal ones. They slide in and out just like they were built for it. But in this
I got
case,
them. Found them.
Did you find it?
Yep.
camo stripper clip chest pouch. Cheap, $7. And here's the thing, what we use those, I bought thousands of the Chinese ones. We use those as bandoliers for loading up the ammo to throw it at somebody. So that's another way to keep your ammo in storage in the ammo cans, ready to go. See how that worked?
Good.
All right,
Thank
we came
you.
up with solutions. Hopefully we helped you out there, but that's the best price in the country for something like that. Buy it and try it. Worst is going to happen is you end up with some more field gear. For $7, you can afford that. Also, look, see if there's anything else they have that's worthwhile, because they have a flat rate shipping right now, which is pretty cool. I'll tell you what, close with me. God bless the Republic.
That's the New World Order.
We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire's on the run. And we are on the march.
On the march.
Very good. Thank you. Guys, we're going to get out of the way. Edward taking over. Hopefully we answered some questions. And for everybody out there, guys, stay focused. We're on a mission. The boat gets scuttled in October. The shipwreck takes place in November. And the bad guys are thinking about having a Tet offensive of some kind to kill all you and me. I think we just got to mutilate them back harder just to be ready for it. God bless. Ed taking over. More LTR coming up. Bye-bye.
I was watching from the window, listening to the pouring rain, when I saw James flash a peace sign from the plane. And with one last look, he was off to fight for Uncle Sam in the war-torn jungles of South Vietnam. When he first arrived in country, he could not believe his eyes, couldn't understand why people had to die. But he did his thing for Nixon, spilled blood upon the land, for a host of reasons he just can't defend. These days he's just trying to get by, still dreams about that day in their life. So he rolls himself a big fat one out where those Charlies died, 'cause thinking about the war just makes him cry. Yeah, these days he's just trying to get by. When his second tour was over and he made his way back home, he felt defeated, discouraged, and alone. You might say he has some problems you wouldn't understand. No, this wasn't quite the life that he had planned. He's been living in seclusion in a cabin by the lake. He's been seeking faith with every toke he takes. And now that pot's been legalized, well, this old broken man plans to move to Colorado when he can. These days he's just trying to get by. Still dreams about that day in me life. So he rolls himself a big fat one out where the eagles fly. 'Cause thinking about the war just makes him cry. Yeah, these days he's just trying to get by. Jimmy bought a place near Denver where the air is fresh and clean, close to the mountains, the rivers, and the streams. A golden opportunity to start a brand new life for this purple-hearted soldier and his wife. The day that final curtain falls and it's Corporal Johnson's time, well, I hope that God will try to keep him in mind. The sacrifices that he's made to keep our country free, so that we could live in peace and harmony. These days he's just trying to get by. Still dreams about that day in me life. So he rolls himself a big fat one out where the eagles fly. 'Cause thinking about the war just makes him cry. Yeah, these days he's just trying to get by. Yeah, these days he's just trying to get by.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It is 9:06. Time to open your veteran manual. I'm your host, Machine Gun Randy. I come to you tonight through Libertytreeradio, .4ng.com, Indiana Freedom Talk Radio. And if you'd like to call the show tonight, you can do that at 712-432-0900. Activation code 957464#. A *6 will beneath you. Again, those numbers are 712-432-0900. Activation code 957464#. A *6 will be new to you. Again, if you'd like to call the show tonight, you can do that at 712-432-0900. The activation code is a must, 957464#. A *6 will be new to you. So today, I got up. I'm wondering what am I going to do tonight, and I really cannot come up with anything to do. So what I went in and to a friend's house, and his kids was watching television about war spirits. And when I got there, they was watching in Pennsylvania a hotel. And the hotel has Union soldier ghosts. And they've been spotted by many people. And they sent some professionals, what do they call them? Oh, they got like, I can't remember the name of what those ghost seekers are. But they went in and they found that it was spirits in there, and they were there from the Civil War. And they stay there. They don't go. They tried to get rid of them now, and they stay there, and they bother nobody. They don't come out, except on occasions you might have one go by you. But I remember one other incident of a spirit that came out in World War II. 101st Airborne was just landed, scattered about, getting things together. Well, these 5 or 6 guys, they was by a building, not a house, it was a building. And they went inside the building and was getting their sea rations ready. And this captain from the 5th Infantry Division, who was stationed right there, he came out and told these people to get out of here now. Well, they started getting their sea rations. He says, get out of here now. Take nothing with you. Go. And they all left, and as soon as they got out of the building, it was hit by artillery, blew it to smithereens. The guys looked for the captain, and he was nowhere to be seen. Well, when they all got together again, they was at their base camp, and the infantry division was right there. So they got together and went over to look for Captain Johnson, I believe his name was. And when they asked for him in the orderly room, everybody looked at them and shot. And they said Captain Johnson was killed this morning about 2 a.m. And they said he couldn't have been. He came and told us to get out of the building, and as soon as we got out, it was blown up, and he was there. But we can't find him. And they said, he's in the morgue over here. And they pulled his body out, and they said, that's who told us at 6 o'clock it was to get out of that building. It was him. So that's another spirit story. If anybody has a spirit story they want to tell, you can do that at 712-432-0900. Activation code 957464. A *6 will activate you. So I'm wondering about veterans today also. How are they doing in the VA hospitals? I went the other day, and I had a fantastic visit with my doctor, Dr. Jeffrey Jarvis, and he said I was doing all right. But the only problem is the high blood sugar. Other than that, everything is all right with me. He says I'm going to be around for a few more days. So that puts you guys in trouble because I'm going to be here telling you the same stuff every day, all the time, just so I can get into the second half hour. When we get there, you'll know what that is. But like I say, if you're a veteran and you see somebody that's messing with our veterans that are coming home on leave or getting out of the service, changing duty, whatever, don't let them mess with them because they're out there. They're idiots out there. You have to watch for them because they could come out with a machete and start hacking people. But in the general rule, they're cowards, and you start yelling at them, let them know that he's got somebody to back him up. They are not going to mess with them because they're cowards. And the military personnel, they've been ordered not to get involved in anything. Now, when I came home, they told us the same thing, and we was attacked at, every airport in the country. Everybody was against the war except for us, and they came at us. But nowadays, they have welcome buddies that welcome them to the station, and they bring them to the taxi or wherever they're going and make sure that they safely get away. And believe you me, them buddies, all they got to do is call for help, and they got more than enough help that's going to come in and help them. Nowadays, it's not like it was. We were told to change into civilian clothes as soon as you possibly can. And it was really strange back then. Our welcome home wasn't that very welcome. And that's why I bring it up every show today. Don't let them mess with our men. They messed with me. Cab driver gave me a hit of acid for a hit of speed, and I was dumb enough to take it. But if you see them messing with them, don't let them mess with them because they are 99% of the time cowards. You start yelling at them, they'll take their protest elsewhere. And how many of you people in the service are sitting in your foxhole right now in Afghanistan or wherever and are getting ready to come home in the next couple of months? Do you know that you could take your laptop with you to your foxhole or wherever you are at, and you can get the VA know that you are coming home pretty soon, and they will have everything ready for you when you get home, and you won't have to wait the way I had to when I came home. We got up, couldn't report before you got out. But when you got out, you had to report to the VA, and you was in the McNamara building. And you walk into a big cafeteria type situation, and you grab your number 187 or whatever, and you wait until your number comes up, and then you go out there, and you're on a big stack of papers that's on top of you. They don't go from the top down, they go from the bottom to make sure that they get it bottom side right. And by the time I got to there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by the time I got out of there, 3:30 in the afternoon, and I had to come back the next day because their time ran out, and they assured me that I would be up in the first in line. They gave me number one, and they said, when you get here, produce us here, and we'll get you in. And they did. I was right in, and they finished it up. And next thing you know, I'm out, got my disability and everything swinging into place. And I was ready to join the civilian life. So I thought. everywhere I went. And they find out that I'd been in the Army with you in Vietnam. And I was threatened everywhere, so I got ahead of the game, and I started threatening them first. And they didn't mess with me much after that. But they were rude, they were violent, and nobody stopped them. The soldiers was pretty much in their place, because at that time, them protesters went out looking for trouble. That was their main object. And I was lucky to get out of there with just being spit at. I was lucky enough to get out of the way. And then the cab driver picked me up, and he gave me my ride home. And he asked me if I had ever had any speed of any type, and I can get some from him, and that would get me through the night because my folks would be home. And I'd have a lot of company, and I'd been traveling for 3 days and tired. Yeah, I had speed in Vietnam. Michael Stalker, he gave me a hit one day when we were tearing down LZ Tombstone outside of Palm Tree. And wow, that got me through that day. We did a lot of work. And got me through. So I think that's what he was going to give me. And he opened up his hand. He had a bunch of pills in it. So I took a little purple one, which ended up being purple eyes acid. And it was really put me on my butt. But don't take nothing that anybody gives you. I can tell you that. And don't let them mess with our soldiers that are trying to do their job and trying to stay out of trouble. They're just there to get on a plane and get to where they're going. They're not there to hassle no protesters. They're ordered to stay away from them. But what do you do when they come up into your face? If they don't hit you, they can do anything, they can say anything they want to you. And there's nothing you can do. They can ask you how many babies you killed. They can ask you all kinds of questions that are really vogue and not what you really want to be asked. And they do it on purpose. They've been to a class to find out how to harass you to the limit. And you turn to go and there's somebody else in your face. You turn to go and there's somebody there. And nobody out there helps you. Nobody out there would say anything. And you were at their mercy. You walk slowly to get by them and get towards where you're going. And you try to flag a cab down and they're not stopping. They know what's going to happen. And they don't touch you, but they harass the heck out of you. And at that time, nobody did nothing to stop it. Well, thanks to the welcome buddies, they came with the solution, and that's to meet you at the gates and take you to where you are safe. And they might even buy you a beer. After all, after an 8-hour flight from England or wherever you're coming from, you could probably use a good beer. After what you've been through, you could probably use a couple shots too. But what you don't need is some ignorant protester coming upon you and messing with you. So if you see it going, put a stop to it. Now, the veterans that are coming in now, what needs to be done is they've had a bad rap, but you need to join the VFW. Veterans of War and War in your state or your community. They need all young vets that they can get. I belong to them. I don't ever go to them because I don't drink. I smoke pot. And they all drink. And most of them don't like me because I smoke pot. Well, that's too bad. I earned my right to smoke pot. And those young guys that are sitting in there did not earn their right to sit there and get gassed up every night. But they think us old veterans that was in Vietnam. They didn't earn that. Yes.
This is Ed.
Yes.
I'm sorry to cut in there. And I know you're talking good about the veterans of foreign wars, but I know this for many veterans like you that were in Vietnam, and it may be part of the attitude that comes to you and you don't realize it. A lot of the Vietnam vets that I know that I've talked to over the years, the veterans of foreign wars, they looked down on you guys because it was a policing action, not a real war. And for a very long time, they didn't even let you guys join because of that.
Oh yeah, they treated us like hell. Yeah. They voted down. They had the election to give money to the Vietnam vets, the Vietnam War bonus it was called, and they voted it down. Then they came up with a new election, an emergency election for it, and it was voted in. Now, in California, they got $2,200. Florida got $1,800. Michigan gave us $500. That's showing their appreciation. Of course, we didn't go into it for that. But when you look at the other states, what they got, and Michigan, you check it out, Michigan had more people in Vietnam than most other states. There's only two, Texas and California, that had more.
And at the time,
but
it wasn't like it is now, where you're in a man-made depression there in what was, the motor capital of the world.
Yeah, they put it. They let us know we lost the war. I'll put it that way, and I can accept that. But what I didn't accept was being spit at. I might have lost the war, but when I left, we were winning. It was a battle against the Vietnam soldiers and veterans all the way up till basically this program broke out when I started telling people how to welcome home a veteran and how to treat a soldier that's still in, not to ask him how many people he's killed. If you're going to do something, take him to the bar, buy him a drink, welcome him home, glad you're safe. But after I came out and told everybody how to do that, now there's veterans complaining everywhere I go. I'm being welcomed home, thanked for my service. And I says, hey, those guys have been people, them kids that are coming up and telling you that, they're doing it from their heart. They're not doing it like we was welcomed home by other people. Pack it up, live it, and love it, because they're telling you that because they mean it. They ain't telling you that to disturb you because you've already been told that 3 or 4 times while you was in the store. learn to enjoy it. It's better than the welcome home you got, by sure. And for those of you that think I'm wrong at that, think that they have the right to yell at our heroes that are coming home, don't do it around me, because I'm not a soldier that can't do nothing, and I have no problems with putting a stop to you with a machete or not. I can stop a machete. By most of them idiots that throw it. Some of them, they might be Chiang Kai-shek or something, but no. Don't let them do it, because that guy is told not to mess with them. You mess with them. And by that, it's that time. I know it's a veteran show, but most veterans light up. All right, how about that? Hank Williams at halftime, and to close the show up, we have Hank Williams Jr. Coincidental, I assure you, but hey, that Rocketeer money was made back about 52, 53, and the Korean War veterans were coming home, and people got jealous about the ones who had back then combat fatigue. They had different names for it, but it was PTSD, and they gave them a hard time, so hard a time that they wouldn't admit to it. They were actually ashamed of getting it. But nowadays, I think they know better. If you have it, come and get it. Don't worry about what somebody you've been in the service with might think. And I'll tell you another thing about PTSD. You can say you have it, and they have to prove that you don't have it. If you think you've got it, you got it. See your VA counselor and get what's going for you. And so, hey, American Tobacco Company, I haven't forgot about you. I'm going to let you know that I talked to other people, and they've got the same thing going on as I have. My daughter, Chassie, she has quit smoking for 2 weeks now. And I'm getting ready to send her. She wants to go for another session. So they're setting her up with another session. And Stacy is the next one coming up. And we're going to start getting people off cigarettes. And a new way of doing it. It's not new, but to me, it's new. I just found out that it does work. And that is acupuncture. Can 10 million Japanese be wrong, or 10 million Chinese be wrong? The thing is, it works. Chassie was a true smoker, and she has not smoked since she had her procedure done. So I am challenging anybody out there who has lost a spouse and can afford it to start sending people one at a time if you have to, but get 10 people in to an acupuncture or hypnotist, whatever it takes, and get them off of that chain that's hooked to them. I'm sending 10 people. I met 4 at a gathering this weekend. We had a rib kickoff, and we had a real good time, and there was 4 people there. Bob and Jennifer, and I forget the other 2's name, but they'll come to me. But they are 4 on my list of friends that are going to get treated at an acupuncture or hypnotist of their choice, or maybe whichever's cheaper, because I'm paying for this out of my pocket. So that's a way that we can start fighting the tobacco company is instead of making tobacco companies rich, let's make the acupuncturists rich. Let's get that going, huh? It works. And take them to one that has a guarantee. $100 guarantee to work. You can go back until you quit. And it does take, in most cases, more than one visit, like my daughter. She's getting one. She hasn't smoked. She pasted it and threw it away. But she wants to go in so that she don't have an urge. So I would like to hear from these doctors. I'm going to get in with them and have them report in how things are working, and let people know how this acupuncture works. It's putting needles into the skin and connecting nerves or whatever. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know from 1 out of 1 so far, it works. And, hey, let's put the tobacco companies away. Wouldn't it be good to have no lung cancer? Well, you can't do that until the tobacco companies are gone. And I keep wondering, why does our government support a company or an industry that murders us? They sell poison, and we gratefully go and buy it. Not me, I gave them up. And most of the people that I went with are gone. They died of lung cancer. They died of bad hearts from smoking. My father-in-law lost both of his legs because of the clogging of the arteries. And then he died. And these people that think that it's cool, you kids, that it takes a man to face cancer. No, it takes an idiot to face cancer the way you're doing it. And I said before, when you die of cancer, it's not like you fall off a bicycle and you're in heaven. No, you got years of cancer treatments going on. You have cancer and you beat it. You can't get off cigarettes, so you get cancer again and you beat it. And you still can't quit cigarettes. You get it again. This time, you can't beat it. This time, you're going 4 or 5 months. And while you're doing that 4 or 5 months, the last 3 or 4, you're in a hospital bed. And you're having somebody else take care of you completely. Pam would not have me take care of her completely. We had the COVID virus going on, and I was the only one there, and she just asked for towels and wipes and told me to leave the room, and she took care of herself. She was in a lot of pain when she did that because she had broken her pelvis, and after that, her cancer spread like wildfire. So it's not an easy way to go out, and it's not just you that goes out. It's your spouse or your children. In my wife's case, it was both. The kids came up 250 miles. They were able to take time off of work to get through it. And all of that over cigarettes that she started smoking when she was 16 years old. It wasn't supposed to be addictive. It was supposed to be fun. You know, cost a bill of miles, outstanding, and they are mild. A cool in the day. No, not a cool way to end life. And if our government keeps letting them sell them damn things, well, people's going to keep on buying them. And what did they do about marijuana? It's safe. It's proven safe. It causes no damage. But with that being what it is, it's not helping the medical community to keep the money coming in. There's something there unfair because the insurance companies don't make heck about it. Why isn't the insurance company asking why are they allowed to sell cigarettes? But they won't allow them to sell marijuana. And I keep bringing the subject up that marijuana does not hurt nobody. Peanut butter has killed more people than marijuana because marijuana has kill nobody. And marijuana won't kill nobody. Won't give you cancer. You won't get nothing from it but a good feeling and maybe hungry. But they got that under control too, because you don't get the munchies like you used to. Back in the 70s, I guess it was that Mexican marijuana that got you hungry, so hungry that no matter what you had going on, you had to stop and go get a bologna sandwich or something. And nowadays, it's not like that. I don't know how that is, how it became. But at least with me, I don't eat like I used to. And I've lost a lot of weight. Everybody that knew me telling me, hey, how much you losing? You looking good. Well, I don't know. You know, I know that I thought my legs weren't as big as they were. And, hey, I'm happy with what I got going on. My doctor told me the other day at 72, if I keep up working on the high blood sugar, that I might be the longest living Vietnam veteran there is. Well, that's quite a commitment, but that came because my daughter asked me what my goal was. You know, after we was at a graduation, she asked me what my goal was, and jokingly I said I want to be the longest living Vietnam veteran there is. And my doctor told me, well, you're going to have to cool down on the cookies and stuff. But he also said your heart, your lungs, your livers, your kidneys, and everything is like in a 30-year-old. My shell outside, it's creping skin. I'm 72 years old. And, hey, I feel great. I'm not jumping up in the air and stuff because my hips are hurting, but for what I've been through and what I got going, I've done all right with what I've been through. And I contribute that to the wonder weed marijuana. It's not a tobacco by any means. On the contrary, tobacco will kill you. Marijuana will heal you. They got two parts of it. They have the COBD oil, or the COBD. The COBD oil. COBD oil, yeah. It's no THC in it. And THC is what is in marijuana that gets you high. But what that oil does, the COPD, it does a lot of medical benefits. I was against it when I first when I first heard about it. I was not convinced about it at all. They was talking about taking THC away, and I am totally against that. It's been taken away long ago, and it's time we bring it back. And I'm going to sit here telling you about the American tobacco companies being one of the unhealthiest things out there. You know, more people die from than accidents. But our insurance companies, they smile and pay that bill because they're allowed to sell cigarettes. Is there that much money in it that it doesn't matter that it kills people? if I could, I'd ask my wife what it's like where she's at right now. I know where she's at. But is she happy with how she got there? She went so quick. When they was going to wake me when she got up. And at 6:15, Stacy walked by her, kissed her on the forehead, and said, "I love you, Ma." And Pam looked at her and said, "I love you." They yelled for me, and she died before I came from one room to another. It happens quick when it happens. But in the cancer case of cigarettes, it takes a long time to get there. And she was out of pain. And they still sell them cigarettes by the cartons. You can go buy as many of them as you want. They do look out to make sure that the 18-year-olds don't get it. But it's wrong the way it's being done. And in the end, those responsible will have to answer for it. How can God allow that to happen without being punished? They killed my wife, and they killed a lot of people's wives, and they are still doing it with the blessing of the government. What's going on here? What is really going on? Is money that important, or is it a way to just thin the population out? I can tell you one thing, I don't think those CEOs of them companies and that, I don't think they smoke the trash they sell. I think they keep it out of their families as much as they can because they know it kills. For crying out loud, they put on the side of it this year can cause serious damage, and it does. They even put out in a cigarette ad, they say stopping now will greatly help you with health, better health. But they don't tell you is they're making billions of dollars and they have no intentions of shutting down at all. Their intentions are to keep you healthy long enough that you can buy cigarettes from them for 60 years. They want you to buy cigarettes from them until you die from them. Some of them, it might be 20 years. There was an anchor man back in the 90s, back when on my wife's birthday, when the plane hit 911. I forget his name, Peter Jennings maybe. But he had quit smoking for 5 years. And after the plane hit, he was so nervous, he started smoking again. And once he started smoking again, he died 2 years later. In just 2 years, he died of cigarette smoke. And nobody came on television and said Peter Jennings died of cigarette smoking. They should stop him. They didn't put on nothing like they do with other things, like the insecticide, killing people, and they got a big lawsuit up on it. How come they don't have a big lawsuit against the American tobacco makers, the whole industry? I damned every one of them that grow it, every one of them that process it and make it, every one of them that sell it, and every one of the stockholders that are profiting from it. Damn them all. They're murderers. They're killing us. With the blessings of Uncle Sam? No. With the blessings of our government. They're different than they were when we had Uncle Sam. We don't have Uncle Sam no more. Goodbye, Rosie Riveter. You ask people about her, they don't remember her. I remember her. My mother was one. She put battleships together. She laid on her back 8 hours, 8 or legs on her back, and welded a single bead to that whole battleship. It took them years to do it. But that's what she did. While my father went out and fought, my mother built battleships. Rosie Riveters, God bless them today, and God bless him forever. So, what are we going to do about them American tobacco companies? You know, they shut down restaurants when they kill people. How come they're not shutting down the tobacco companies when they kill people? How come they allow people to buy them cigarettes anymore? They know what it does. But what they don't know is the government's getting their share of that money. Or do they know? Are American people that dumb to believe that the American government's not getting so much money in paybacks from lobbyists, from the tobacco companies to keep marijuana off the streets, and lobbyists to keep tobaccos going? My goodness, I smoked my cigarette when I was 8 years old with the blessings of my uncles. Well, they're gone. They've had cancer. I quit. I don't have cancer. And I'll tell you one thing. They got to be stopped. They got to stop the tobacco companies. Somehow, some way, we got to stop the tobacco companies. And with that I say, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Forgive us for our trespassing as we forgive those that trespass against us. Deliver us from temptation. Deliver us from evil, for thine is the kingdom and power and glory forever and ever. Amen. I'm Machine Gun Randy. I will talk to you Thursday night on the American Marijuana Revolution, or the Medical Marijuana Hour. And I'll be back here next Monday. With that, I say adios. God bless. Hank Williams Jr. Yeah, Hank Williams Jr. is like Rocky said. This Hank Williams Jr. doing football. I wonder if they can tell I'm a Hank Williams fan. Yeah,